If he doesn't have a TP, he's going to lose a few peasants, which is a pain, because that messes with his economy. And if he does have a TP, then you force him to waste the TP if you have a significant number of units, such as Moon does now. I'd call that a pretty big problem for Sky. Now, Sky knows that Moon has an advantage, so Sky has to do a number of things. So for you human players out there, you want to focus on a few things. Mainly, you don't want to go above 50 food. If you know the Nightelf has an advantage, you want to stick around 50 food for a while, getting your upgrades, getting your ideal units, and harassing and creeping up. Think about this. Nightelf has 2 mines but is in low upkeep. He's getting 14 gold a second. Human player is at 50 food, no expansion, getting 10 gold a second. So as you can see, if you're at low upkeep, then that expansion really isn't bringing you that much gold, it's not really giving you the edge. So it's still possible to win. Now, this is what I mean by map control. You don't need to win every fight, or you don't need to be killing all his units. You just need to be able to slow his creeping down. You need to be not letting him have a free reign on the map. Now, I'll talk about T2 pushing. Now, I know a lot of elf players have problems with the T2 push. A lot of them try and tech for T3 and try and get master bears, but the problem is the push is designed so you can't get master bears. I think it started out, I think Sky perfected it. He started out as a delaying system where he'd cancel the laws and pull out, then hit again at T3. But now it's a lot of people try and win on the T2 push. What they'll do is bring towers and stuff. The characteristics of the T2 push are basically an early blacksmith, which means 3 or 4 rifles out before he finishes his tech, which is a problem for you, because he's going to have quite a few rifles. And he will power build 1 sanctum and put that Sork on not auto cast. Actually, let's get back to the game for a second. When you're microing in a fight like this as elf, what you want to do is you want to attack and move your bears into his army and select your dryads in a control group while holding down Alt. Now that way your bears are attacking the right units, and you can focus with your dryads and run back and forth, making his rifles chase you, as we're seeing here by Moon. With your DH, if you have an orb, you want to be focusing on a separate unit or a hero. So if your bears are all focusing on some rifles and your dryads are focusing on some casters, then you want your DH to be focusing on the AM or the MK, constantly burning. Now back to the T2 push. So he'll come to your base with 1 Sork or a priest and 6 or 7 militia, and he'll use the militia as meat. And when they go into peasant form, he'll build some towers. The push is so strong because basically if he plays it right, he can win then and there. You might be wondering why Moon's creeping this camp out. It's because there's a really good chance for an aura item to drop, which is very useful, and it's a great way to fill up on mana after a big fight, just to get that quick advantage. Being able to rejuvenate all your units and having full mana on your bears is really useful after a big fight. And you might have noticed that he just picked up a Tinker. I'll go into that a bit later. Now, with the T2 push, a lot of people think that, I'll quickly tech for bears, I'll quickly get some bears, I'll try and win that way. That's not how you'd go about it. Now, a lot of people won't agree with me, but if you get some dryads and you mass up the dryads, then think about this. If you put up an extra AOW or an AP and he tries to push into your base and you've got dryads focusing down his units, you could probably kill a rifle 1 for 1. So if you lose a couple of dryads, that's okay, but you probably won't lose that many since you're fighting in your own base, and it's going to be pretty difficult for him, since there'll be 2 AOWs hitting, and there'll be moon walls, and there'll be the spell going off with the wisps and the dryads and all that. So that's how you go about fighting the T2 push. Versus something like this, versus possibly mortars, breakers, rifles, casters, you'd want to pick up some AoE or creep your Naga. Excuse me. You'd creep your Naga up to level 3 for Fork Lightning and spam that, or you'd go Panda Second or something like that. DR can also work very effectively versus human, especially with a Naga or an FL at T2, since he won't be able to engage you early game. And that's pretty much that. Now, it's very important to keep the MK low level. You can't have a level 5 MK running around. What you want to do is, you always want to be looking for the creep jack when you have your ideal hero levels, which is level 5 or level 3 on a DH, or level 2 or 3 on a Naga when you get Fork Lightning. As you can see, Moon is about to creepjack Sky, and he creepjacks him in a very bad position. Sky is at 61 food, and Moon is at 80. Now, as I was saying earlier, it's very important, if you don't have an expansion, to stay around 50 food until you've saved enough gold to push up to 80 and you've got all the upgrades you need. Which is what Sky's done. And Sky has retrained to Blizzard and Clap, and he has Clap, so that's level 2 Clap and level 3 Blizzard. That's going to have a devastating effect on the bears. We'll see that in a minute. Now, it's very important as a Nightelf player and a human player to have good positioning in fights. So let's just watch this little fight here. Now, all the bears are going to run in and attack the front line, which is what you want. But then you want your Dryads to focus on things like the casters. Now, if you hold down Alt, you'll see how quickly those bears are dying to Clap and Blizzard. The reason he's got Tinker is to cancel the channeling, but he doesn't really seem to be cancelling much channeling from what I can see. Now, with the Dryads, it's extremely important to focus down Priests or Sorceresses, mainly because the Priests are healing 25 HP a second, and that's basically countering one Dryad's damage. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when he's got 4 Priests in 80 food fight, that's a hell of a lot of HP being healed up. Some people don't know that when you focus with your Dryads on a unit, they don't automatically abolish. So you want to focus, then attack move to dispel all the slow. If you attack move, your Dryads will dispel slow, but they'll all hit separate targets. They won't focus on units. Now, Sky's running into Moon's base, and that's because Moon has a lot of low HP bears, so he might get the rejuvenation steal and he'll be able to fight in a good choke. Now, if you look closely, there's a huge choke where Sky is standing. There is no way you could fit your bears in, have your Dryads all in ideal positioning, and not get blizzed and clapped to hell. So, pretty good position for Sky. Now, Moon's gonna run in, and he uses Reveal because the MK will run in invisible, clap everything, and then run back. Now, as you can see, that Blizzard is really devastating, so Tinker's using cluster rockets on the AM to cancel channeling. Human players, you want to sort of keep your priests in a separate control group and attack move them, because that way they'll be healing stuff. Nightelf players, you want to, as I said before, focus your Dryads on priests and sorks and stuff. The game's basically over. Yeah, the game's over now, but let's take a quick look at the resources. Moon has 13,600 gold mined, and Sky has 10,000. Moon's lost about 3,000 to upkeep, Sky has lost about 5,000. So as you can see, staying at 50 food has resulted in pretty close gold mined or gold economic balance, I'd say. I hope you learned something from that. Pretty short replay. Feel free to PM me if you have any questions about anything I've talked about, and I'll do PM readings in my next audio. Hopefully next audio will be a bit longer. Feel free to send me any audios you want, any replays you want commentated. I'm looking for replays to commentate because I'm having trouble finding them, so if you want a replay commentated, then send it to me. Thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something and enjoyed the audio. This is Remind signing out.